So I had an intro to this vlog filmed before even starting the book, and I accidentally deleted it. I don't even remember everything I said, probably just some recap stuff from the first book or whatever. The important thing is that this will be spoiler filled. So if you haven't read the book, you need to be okay with spoilers. And because I'm filming this intro at the same time that I'm filming my last clip, I will see you again at the end. And here we go. So I haven't gotten that far yet, but I have read at least one chapter from each of the main point of view characters that we knew from the last book, Elvar, Varg, and Orca. Something that's a little weird that I noticed in The Faithful and the Fallen and in The Shadow of the Gods is that when a chapter heading says a name of one of those characters, that doesn't necessarily mean that that chapter is about that character. And it doesn't necessarily mean that we are seeing what's really inside of that character's mind. It's more just like, if it says Elvar, Elvar's eyes are the ones that we are seeing the chapter through. Especially in this first chapter that Varg gets, because at the end of The Shadow of the Gods, the Bloodsworn and Orca came together, so Orca and Varg are in the same group. So the first chapter that's titled Varg, Seeing Through Varg's Eyes, that chapter is almost more about Orca than about him because he is observing her and watching her. So a little weird, but fine, I guess. It's been very warm the last week. We just got through a heat wave. I've been taking my boys outside to the park, to the pool, trying to have lots of summertime fun. I am currently drinking ginger beer, which I had never had before. Our grocery store recently got it, or they at least recently put it out on display where I could see it, because I never noticed it before. It's Australian family owned. It's basically like root beer or cream soda, but ginger flavored. I've recently gotten very into ginger flavored things. So the Hunger of the Gods picks up right where the shadow left off. It is the next day. And what at first seemed like a happy meeting between Orca and her brother-in-law is actually a lot more complicated, because Orca was Orca Skullsplitter, the previous leader of the Bloodsworn. And she didn't tell the Bloodsworn that she was leaving them. She and Thorkel got pregnant with Brekka and decided that they couldn't live that life anymore. And so during some sea battle, they just leapt overboard and swam away to start a new life. The rest of the Bloodsworn has thought all this time that they were dead, and now that Orca is back with them, a lot of them feel very betrayed. They are hurt. I think it was Svik came up to her and just said, "You left us." Like, he didn't even know what else to say to her, just confronting her with the fact that she left them. I don't blame her. I think it was the right choice for her and Thorkel and their son, but I do think they could have left and told the rest of their group that they were leaving. But whatever, it's in the past. They're going to have to move forward now. Elvar has a thrall. I feel like in this instance, she is following in her father's footsteps. Her father is one of the people who has been collecting tainted and collaring them, and she's been very rebellious against her father. He had offered her everything she wanted, and she turned it down because she knew it would probably come with strings attached, and she left with the Battle Grim. And now, this flying creature who says she is the daughter of... Ooh, their names. The Wolf One and the Eagle One. A daughter of those two gods. And now Elvar has put a collar on her and has her as a thrall. So that's interesting. I'm currently in the chapter where Skuld, the winged daughter of the gods, is leading them underground, and they've seen like the road of the dead, and she's saying there's treasure down here, and I'm thinking she's leading them into a trap. I didn't finish that chapter yet, so I don't know. I still feel like it's a trap. And then in the one point of view chapter I read of Varg, not much has happened. He's just kind of realizing who Orca is and kind of seeing the tension between the Bloodsworn members he's gotten to know and these new couple of people who have joined. I feel really bad for Leaf. I feel like the eyes are E's, I don't know. He's still trying to recover from his frost spider venom bite. And he's dealing with now having just lost and buried his brother. So he's having a rough time of it. And I'll see you in a few chapters. I am now 150-ish pages in. And I think it was right before I left off last time I recorded anything. They had not yet woken up Ulfrir. That was like the next thing that happened after I started reading again. And, okay, the end of the first book, they wake up the dragon god. Terrible idea, right? So the Battlegrim are like, well, what's the best way to take down a god? Probably another god. We should wake up another one. Fight fire with fire. I cannot think that this is a good idea. At this point, Ulfrir has been helpful in getting them across the bridge that disappeared and fighting off Vaesen, but it's not gonna end well. There have been a couple of new POVs. Chapters from the point of view of Bjor and Guðvar. And I can definitely see which character we are supposed to sympathize with and which one we are not. Guðvar is slimy. He's constantly insulting people in his mind. He doesn't care about anyone else. He slips that one guy who is not dead yet into the depths of the sea, hoping no one will notice. And then Bjor, I think maybe we're supposed to have a little sympathy for. Yes, he betrayed the Battlegrim, he killed Agnar, but now that he's back home with the other Raven feeders, he's a little sad. He's having big emotions. He misses Elvar. He doesn't miss her enough to not get with Mirk or whatever her name is. He lets her welcome him back with open arms and open other things. But he's having a hard time reintegrating back into the Raven feeders. He spent so long with untainted, I don't remember what they call them, the ones who have no blood of gods in their veins, and getting himself back into his past relationships and friendships and stuff. So I kind of feel like because he's a character that we got to know in the last book, we're supposed to kind of be on his side, maybe rooting for him a little bit, maybe hoping for some kind of redemption arc, maybe. We'll see. I notice Varg is starting to kind of come into his own a little bit. He's being considered to be fierce. And he is one of the Bloodsworn, except he's not really a Bloodsworn yet. He's not sworn his oath yet. So there is still the possibility that he could leave them or betray them or go off on his own or whatever. If it comes to him having to make a choice like that, it's going to be really hard because these are like his found family now. They welcomed him in when he lost his sister. They freed him from being a thrall. They call him brother. They're teaching him how to fight and how to be a Bloodsworn. And he, at the point I'm at, has just found out who sold his sister. So he's kind of on the warpath now, wanting to go find that guy and hunt him down. Then we have Brekka. I feel for her so much. She is so strong and so fierce and so capable, but she is so full of emotion. And they get to Rata's cave and Orca finds the mattress that Brekka slept on. And she is just kneeling there for a long time, not saying anything, just kind of lost in her own thoughts, lost in her own heart. It is difficult for her to move on from there, from a place that she knew that he was. And it is going to be a bad day for the people who have Brekka when she catches up to them. Oh, she made a big impression on Guðvar, by the way. He was going to bring her head home in a sack for his aunt, and now he's very scared of her. As he should be. The Battlegram are going to need a new chief. There's been a little bit of Elvar and Hold butting heads, and I think that's going to come to a head very soon. They just crossed the pit and got away from the Vaesen, and so once they're kind of past that, they're going to have to make some decisions. There's going to be a fight. There's going to be blood. There might be a death. We'll see. I don't know if Elvar should try to become chief, because she's also having to deal with her two new thralls, a god and a god's daughter. And then one thing that's been bugging me, how often the word malice is used. I may not have noticed it so much if Gwynne's first book wasn't named Malice, but apparently a lot of the characters either feel malice or radiate power and malice, or it's just... I'm only at page 150-ish, and it's already been used more than 5 times, which is far too many. I'm also a little upset. I just accidentally deleted the intro scene for this vlog. I believe it is unrecoverable. Luckily, I think the first clip I made after actually starting to read is still just sitting on my phone. It wasn't on my computer, so it wasn't in danger. I don't think it was important. It was like recapping the last book before starting this book, which, if you're watching this, you have already read the first book, so you don't need my recap. Anyway, onward! Okay, I don't remember exactly where I left off when I filmed the last clip, but I think it was before Elvar and Hold had their confrontation. No surprise, Elvar won. She is one of the main point of view characters, so it would have been really surprising if she lost a duel to the death, which you know it was going to be to the death. And now that Elvar is leader of the Battle Grim, I find myself more interested in her storyline than I was before. Because before, she didn't have a lot of agency in what was going on. She was just kind of going with the Battle Grim. And her story arc had been kind of steady so far. At the point that she had thralled a god and his daughter, I was like, ooh, this could go places because of how she feels about her father, who keeps thralls. And now she is the leader of her own warband. Something she had been looking forward to. And Gwynne is teasing her about finally growing up. Because now instead of worrying about her own battle fame, she now has the concerns of her entire band to think about. She has to think about feeding them and clothing them and giving them their treasure and keeping her oath to Uspa while also just not sacrificing the Battle Grim for that oath. And so it's a lot for her, it's weighing on her, and Gwynne is very proud of her. I think to keep track of where I am, I will just go character by character. I am not enjoying Guthvar's chapters. He is not a likable character at all, which I think is the point. We're not supposed to like him or sympathize with him, but I'm not enjoying seeing in his brain. I'm not enjoying experiencing how he feels about other people, what he thinks about them in secret that he doesn't say out loud. He is not my favorite. Seeing from Bjorn's point of view, I don't know how I feel about him as a character. I kind of feel like we're just getting his point of view so we can see what the group he's with is doing. Like, okay, we need to follow the Raven Feeders and Ligrifa, and we had Bjorn as part of the Battle Grim, so he's like the right choice. I'm not sure what his character arc is supposed to be doing at this point. He has some guilt over betraying the Battle Grim and killing Agnar, but that was all part of his job for the Raven Feeders. He feels really guilty about Bjorn. So I don't know where that's going to lead. I think he's going to come up against some kind of moral decision that he has to make at some point. Maybe he'll end up helping the children escape or something. Or learning the secrets of the rat and the dragon gods and somehow helping the humans. I don't know. Although he's tainted, so he might choose that side. Interestingly, when I read the last book, I was thinking, how ironic is it that they call the people with blood of gods in them tainted? And then in this book, Ligrifa is like, no, 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 don't consider yourselves tainted. You're blessed, or whatever she says. You have the blood of gods running in your veins. And, okay, I think in my last clip I did say that the word malice has been used way too often. It's still being used a lot. And then the word veins, the blood in your veins, which god is in your veins. The word veins is used a lot. Also, I knew that Einar Half-Troll was going to help the children. I could see that coming. He was not going to leave those poor little orphans behind. And so many of the Bloodsworn started as orphans or as thralls, and seeing those kids who were going to be put on a path that was like a lot of their backstories, why not just bring them along? Give them a head start. And the fact that they were packed in barrels was very Hobbit-esque, like Bilbo rescuing the dwarves. And then, of course, Glornir was not surprised. I think he also expected Einar, if not Einar, one of his band to somehow get the children aboard. and I don't think he's disappointed or upset about it. I did enjoy the convergence of Orca and Elvar. Orca sure has made a name for herself. Everyone knows the name Skull Splitter. Who do you think you are, the Skull Splitter? Well, actually. Okay, I'm gonna say this now with no clue as to whether it will lead to anything or not, but I sense a little tension, possibly romantic tension, between Varg and Rukia. Varg and Rukia started out rocky. She was very tough on him as he was learning how to fight and be part of the Bloodsworn. Now they're friends, and now I see a little hint of something more, maybe. At the point that I left off, the Bloodsworn had set sail to Izkadan. They're following Yaramir, and they have just confronted a couple of other ships, and there is a battle, and Varg is in his wolfish state of mind, howling on top of the pile of bodies that he has amassed. So I am not past that yet. I feel like I wouldn't mind a little romantic subplot, just a little bit. That's not the point of these books, but really these books are not plot heavy anyway. So adding in a little romance would be fine. And the romance that was in The Faithful and the Fallen was one of my favorites ever. Not between the younger characters, but the one between a couple of the older characters. And so I know he can do it, and I know he can do a good job, and so maybe, we'll see. And there's another god. We have Rata the Rat, who's just been hiding away all this time in constant pain from his torture. And then we have Skald convincing Helka to raise Orna the Eagle. Okay, so I can tell that things are going to come to a head with epic godlike proportions at some point. I don't know that it will be by the end of this book, or if the end of this book will just be the transition point into now there's another Guthfala, another War of the Gods. But now instead of just having gods and humans, we have gods, humans, and in between. And I think maybe for a lot of the Tainted, they're gonna have to take sides, and it's going to be hard to decide what side to take. Because they're not fully human, they're not fully gods, and then the gods are like calling to their children, whispering into their minds. And both Likrifa and Ulfrir are trying to be so parent-like. You are my child, you are strong, I will care for you, I will love you. And I'm like, that doesn't seem sinister at all. They don't seem like kind, loving gods. They seem like they want to call their children to them to control them and use them. Oh, and it seems like everybody wants to kill each other. I can't even keep track of who all wants to kill who now. But the guy who keeps stealing and abusing the children, I hope he gets his comeuppance. I don't even know who I want to cause it to happen. Oh, I lied. I read past Varg howling to the skies. I read the next Guthvar chapter. Do not like that guy. Haha, Brock, that's his name. Ooh, boy, Varg wants to kill him, Orca wants to kill him. He has it coming. From one of the characters, we'll see who gets to do it. I'm on page 441, so I have less than 200 pages to go. I might actually finish before the end of July, which was my goal. We'll see. I have finished The Hunger of the Gods, and I'm not sure where to even start here. I think I'm going to start this clip with just how the book ended, because that is the feeling I am left with. Orca has found Brekka. She has saved him from the Raven Feeders. He's floating off down the river toward Orca's companions, and Orca is sitting there, probably dead. Now, it seemed pretty clear that she was dead, but having read The Faithful and the Fallen, I won't give specific character spoilers for that in case you haven't read it, but there were a couple instances where you think a character is dead. It appears as though they have just died all the way, and then somehow they survive. Which means, in this case, sitting there surrounded by Vaesen, getting bitten over and over by the frost spiders, it doesn't seem like there's a way that she can survive. But because this happened before, in The Faithful and the Fallen, either John Gwynne knows that he can't do this to us again, and so she is just dead. We have lost the mom, she's gone. Brecca is a full-on orphan. The wolf and the bear live on through him. Or John Gwynne has set the precedent, because he's done it before, that she did not actually die all the way, and we will see more of her. Okay, mad about that. Got that out of the way. I'm not sure where I left off. I meant to film a couple more of these clips before finishing the book, but I'll be honest, when I had spare time, I didn't feel like getting out my phone or my camera to film. I felt like getting out my book and reading, so that's what I did. But I don't think I had gotten to the weird tongue creatures yet. How gross were they? Oh man, I did not enjoy that part. And then it just keeps getting worse and worse. They get to the island, there's people being fed to the mother tongue. I don't know if it will even play a part later. The Bloodsworn left a couple of crewmates there, and I think it said they left all the children there, so they're gonna have to go back. So I don't know if there's the possibility of anyone being infected by the tongue things, but I hated them. I do like that we're seeing a little more of the world. I was kind of feeling like in the first book and second book, they're just traveling back and forth across the same place. It's gonna get a little old, so I like that they left. They all have ships. They know they can go other places, and so they did. And I mentioned this in my review, which I filmed today. I like that the Bloodsworn's mission here was very personal. Personal vengeance, a personal rescue. Their hearts are really in this. It's not for gold, it's not for glory, it's to save someone they care about. Loved that, drew me in way more than Elvar's side. And I felt like I couldn't really say in my review enough about the gods because it would be spoilers, because you don't know that more gods are coming. You get Lickrifa at the end of the first one, then you get Ulfrir, then you discover Rata the rat, and then, oh, let's just raise the eagle, Orna. That one didn't last very long. She gets to come back and immediately dies again. But as far as Elvar's story, I started to like hers way more towards the end. She's finally getting more of what she set out for. And when she desired to earn battle fame and maybe be a leader of her own band of mercenaries or whatever it was she wanted, and her father offered to give her her own people to follow her, her own warriors, she would not have desired to take the cloak of someone she respected because he had died. So she got what she wanted, but not in the way that she would have wanted. And oh man, when she goes back home and confronts her father, that's not what I expected. Ulfrir just eats him. And then she goes after her brother. Very bloody, but it felt appropriate. I don't think there's going to be anyone upset that Elvar's father is gone. Even the Galder woman was ready to see him gone. She's ready to follow Elvar. She could see where the power lay, and she made sure that the power swayed in that direction. I still can't tell if anything's going to happen between Varg and Rukia. There was this one little line where she was going off ahead, and he felt drawn to follow her. It said like there was an invisible chain connecting them, and my thought was either because they're both children of Ulfrir, he felt that pack feeling with her, or it's because he has feelings for her of the romantic kind. Okay, and I don't know who to root for. I also mentioned that in the review. There's not clearly defined good and evil. There's not like, here's the good guys, here's the bad guys, and they fight like the faithful and the fallen. There was good and evil. There was basically angels and demons, dark side, light side. This book doesn't have that. The gods don't like each other very much. They're going to take sides and expect humans and tainted to pick sides, and there's just going to be sides. Not necessarily a right side and a wrong side, and we're just going to have to root for our favorite characters, I guess? The ones we like the most. I like the idea of freeing the tainted. They shouldn't be slaves just because they have the blood of gods in their veins, but I don't like the actions that that side has been taking. So I don't know. I am not choosing sides yet. And if you are watching this, I am sure that you have seen the cover of the next book, The Fury of the Gods. And the picture has a giant serpent-looking creature on it. Just like the first one has a dragon who appeared in that book, This one has a giant wolf, which appeared in this book, and you know all of Snaka's big skeletal thing. They have the book, they have the knowledge to raise Snaka. I think everything is leading up to that. All the pieces are in place for it to happen, and his skeleton goes across the entire continent. He is going to wreak havoc. He is going to cause another apocalyptic event. Or they raise him, he turns into a human, and I don't know. They can't just kill him immediately because that's what happened to Orna. I thought maybe I would feel some sympathy for Bjor. He seems to feel bad for betraying and killing Agnar. And he definitely still has feelings caught up in Elvar, but it doesn't stop him from getting with Mirk, however you say that. And he is lying with Mirk, having adult relations and thinking of Elvar. And for me, I'm thinking, this is not very romantic. I did feel bad that he tried to help Bjorn and then was forced to kill Kraka. But then at the end, when he sees Bjorn finally getting rescued, his thoughts turned to himself. Lakrifa almost killed him. He was forced to kill someone else. When he goes after Bjorn, he doesn't do what he thinks is right. He is doing what it takes to protect himself. So I kind of feel like any sympathy I might have felt for him is just kind of gone now. I just don't care about Guthvar. He finally got to do something cool. He finally got to be smart and be on the side of the powerful people, and it's making him feel so full of himself. He deserves this. I did notice. So, you know how Guthvar has like running commentary and running insults in his mind that he doesn't say out loud about pretty much everybody? Whenever he interacts with someone, he keeps the insult in. But then, towards the end, when it's his aunt, is it his aunt? His own Jarl, the thing that he thinks inside about her is complimentary. And I think that was the only time that happened. So maybe he actually has some real unselfish affection for her. Maybe it's selfish affection. So we have got Vol rescued by the Bloodsworn. We have got Brekka rescued by his mom, who may or may not have survived. We've got Guthvar feeling heroic. Bjor just trying to save himself. And Elvar, now Jarl with two gods as her thralls. And I can see things coming to a giant epic conclusion. There's gonna be a big battle. There's gonna be lots of death. I want Uspa and her husband, whose name I don't remember, to get their son back. I want good to triumph over evil, but I don't think that's gonna happen here. And I am looking forward to the third book. Making us wait 2.5 months. I have the book on pre-order. Can't wait. Thank you, patrons, for your support. I will be asking if the third one of these should also be vlogged, if you're enjoying these thoughts as I go instead of all at the end. And I'm gonna read some other stuff while I wait for that next one. Happy reading. Bye.